My name is James Glisson. I am the curator of contemporary art, and with Jamie Brumas up here from the Music Academy, we're responsible for everything you're about to see. So, you know, or complain to us. But in all seriousness, I want to start out with a couple thank yous. Thank you to Jamie, to Travis, to Indigo, to Brendan, to all of the musicians who will be on stage, especially to Awol, who fit this in during a really busy time in his life. And then we all know this just wouldn't have happened if it weren't for the energy and creativity of a certain someone who is in row 2. Kandy, you should stand up. Stand up. No, you have to stand up. Okay. So she had the vision. And there were a lot of conversations. John and Scott at Music Academy were brilliant in making this happen, but it was really her energy, vision, and ambition for this museum that made this happen. So a little bit of context. This is called, tonight is called Radiant Frequencies, and that is the first episode and what we're calling Beyond Conversation. Well, what does Beyond Conversation, what is that all about? Well, a few years ago, not long after I got here, Kandy called me up and said, you know, the museum really needs to be a more outward-looking place. We need to have artists on the walls who speak to the diversity of American culture today. And I was kind of like, it was 2020, which was, we all remember 2020. I was like, wow, this is what I came here to do. And this person, totally independently of me, sees the same need and can make that happen. Ever since then, thanks to Kandy and the Luria Budgor Family Foundation, we have been able to make a series of amazing acquisition of artists, including Awol, Forrest Kirk, who's in the audience tonight. Shout out to Forrest. Keith Mayerson, who is also in the audience tonight. Shout out to Keith, wherever you are. But the Beyond Conversation part is, she and I both realized that's just a start. That's not enough. So to get Beyond Conversation, we've got to go for collaboration. So this was the reason for reaching out to the Music Academy with its emerging musicians who are a lot like the emerging and frankly emerged, in many of their cases, artists. So both institutions represent and work with artists who are tremendously talented already. And we're just kind of capitalizing and channeling all that creativity and energy. And with that, I'm going to give it to Jamie.
Thank you, James. Well, this journey started for me with right before festival, which for us is around May, mid-May. It started with Kandy Budgor saying to me, what if? What if? And the idea was to have our fellows, as James said, they are very, very accomplished musicians, even though they come to us and they hone their craft throughout the summer, but they are already very, very significantly accomplished musicians. And she said, what if we could put those musicians in dialogue with a visual artist, and see what comes of that. And so we held hands with Kandy. We held hands with Kandy because sometimes that can be, that uncertainty can be a little bit scary. We held hands and said, yes, let's just jump right in. And of course, we wanted to work with Awol. It's just been such an honor. Part of what we have done, Awol very generously donated his time to work with our fellows via Zoom. What we first did was we brought the fellows, first of all, we had 80 fellows who applied to be a part of this program in their application. We told them what this was, and there was that amount of interest. So we selected 9 fellows from that group, and we brought them to the museum probably the first week that they were here. And brilliant James gave them a tour of the contemporary gallery and gave them an understanding of what to look for in contemporary art, and you could just sort of see the cogs turning and the light bulbs flashing. It was just so exciting. And for me, personally, it was just, a wonderful opportunity of a lifetime to follow this guy around a gallery. So then Awol came into the picture. Our fellows seized upon some of the concepts that Awol brings to the table. I think what captured their imagination was the idea of space, the idea of chance in music, in art, the idea of identity and diaspora. And so they have selected, based on their conversations with Awol, the program that you're going to hear tonight. Mostly living composers, so, strap in. It's going to be interesting. And so with that, I just wanted to extend my deep thanks to Kandy for bringing this project to us. It's such a wonderful opportunity for the fellows, and it was such a delight for me to work on personally and to work with James on. And thank you very much to the museum for being such a great partner to us. So appreciate it.
So a very quick, I don't know that Awol really needs an introduction, but that's what's the protocol. So Awol's had a great summer, in addition to recent exhibits in Hong Kong, London, and New York, and I'm sure I'm forgetting some. That's just the highlights. He dropped a book at the end of June with Aperture, and he had a really amazing write-up about him in the New Yorker in June. So many of you are New Yorker subscribers. Take a look at it. It's been a very busy summer for him. We're so happy to have him here, and I'm not going to drone on. You should come up and speak. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll keep it very brief. It's a tremendous honor to be here on behalf of Kandy, the Budgor family. Thank you, James. Thank you, Jamie. And so many people, that I'm thankful for to be here. And I just want to say that Santa Barbara has a special place, and will always have a special place in my heart. Iris, are you listening? Simply because I think what James was alluding to was it also opened up a lot of, I think it led the way with the help of Gail Wasserman, of course, as well, for a lot of, other institutions who value themselves to be more serious than others, to start, focusing on things that I've been doing, a lot of my peers have been doing. So it's no small, what would you say, honor to be here. So I thank you, and I'm so excited to see, what the conversation between me and the fellows is going to yield today. And you're in for a treat. So thank you, and I hope to continue the conversation after the performance.
Good evening and welcome. My name is Kara Poling and I'm playing oboe on tonight's concert. This has been an incredibly exciting project for us to work on, largely because we got to program the music for this concert. And in making these selections, we were inspired by concepts of space and chance. So I think you'll find that a lot of the music we're playing today is more unconventional than you might be used to hearing from an ensemble like this. With that, we would like to invite you to join us on the very first piece. You'll probably know that most concerts start with tuning, often given by the oboe, the A. In this tuning meditation, the first piece we'll play tonight, we invite you to hum along with us and explore the ideas of chance and space in tuning.
everyone. My name is Molly, and I am joined on stage by my colleagues Jiho, Della, and Freya. And tonight we will be playing the second movement of Schulhoff's String Quartet No. 1. So Schulhoff wrote this piece in 1924, and he was influenced by dance, jazz, and folk music, and the music of Bartók. And he experimented with the experimental moods and trends in the 20s between the two world wars. It's a very atmospheric piece, and Schulhoff has the upper strings playing sol ponticello near the bridge for that very atmospheric kind of feeling. And the melody that you will hear is passed off from the violin and then to the cello. And it's very haunting and very, very lyrical. But in between the two melodies that are very haunting and lyrical, there's a viola solo that's very comforting and it's like a warm hug, and it's very playful. And so I hope you enjoy.
Hello, everybody. Is this on? Can you hear me? Okay. Hi, my name is Beznika Barashi. Thank you guys so much for coming tonight. Yes, thank you. We've been so excited to share what we've been working on for the past several weeks. What you guys just heard was the third movement, Under the Earth. It's the third movement of Miguel de Aguilar's Wind Quintet No. 2. And this is one of two movements that we thought represented space, which is a very prominent aspect in a lot of Awol Erizku's artwork. So what you guys just heard was the very dark, unsettling sounds played by Alessandra, Sarah, and myself, paired with the very lovely but distant and somber oboe solo by Kara, and our ghostly little wolf, Aaron, on the flute. And all of these sounds kind of came together to create this very uneasiness, or a feeling of uneasiness, anxiety, and loneliness, kind of what people may think when you think of space, the infinite expanse, the void, very existential. But on the contrary, some people might see space as embracing the unknown, or endless learning and exploration of new things. And that kind of ties into our next movement in heaven. And there's a lot of exploring of new techniques that a lot of us have never done before, and you will probably hear a lot of sounds that you wouldn't think would come out of any of these instruments. It might sound like a little percussion section at times, which is very fun. But yeah, it's more upbeat Caribbean dance. I can go more into it, but let's embrace the unknown.
again. So we're playing the third movement of the string quartet again. We're playing the third movement of the string quartet, and it's very percussive and very, very folksy. The central part of this movement is that it's a Czech folk dance, and it's very fun, and I hope you enjoy it.
Hi, everyone. My turn. Well, I hope you all enjoyed that last movement, or at least felt like bopping along to it, because my heart rate was definitely up. I don't know about yours. So, onto something completely different. We have Mayu, the Great River. This is a beautiful piece that works as a framework for individual and group explorations of just various textures and sonic spaces, which is very different from the standard Western notation. I mean, the first time I saw this music, I definitely freaked out a little bit. So the wonderful composer, Inti, she was inspired by South American indigenous cosmology through the lens of queerness and just separation. This piece is a reflection on the multiple temporalities experienced and harnessed by the displaced, erased, and historically underrepresented people. These layers of time, the material and the immaterial, are sources of joy, resilience, survival, and maybe even the future, if we want to look at it that way. No one's experience is ever the same, and neither are we as people and musicians. And therefore, every time we've played through this in the past couple of weeks, it's always been a little bit different. Sometimes I want to go to the beach, so we played a lot faster. But other times we're always reacting off each other. We're listening to each other, and that's why it's always different. We had the great pleasure of working with Inti herself, and she really pushed us to put our own stamp on this music, even though it's technically her composition. So hopefully, through this performance, you all feel inspired to look at the world through your own lens and put your own stamp on it. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming out here tonight instead of going to see the Barbie movie. So the next piece on our program is Rina Ismail's The Light is the Same for Woodwind Quintet. Rina Ismail is an Indian-American composer whose works blend the two genres of Western classical music with Indian classical music. This composition in particular is based off of a poem by Sufi poet Rumi, which reads, "Religions are many, but God is one. The lamps may be different, but the light is the same." So with these words in mind, Ismail explores themes of unity, diversity, exploration, and chance, as she invites us all to celebrate our differences while still recognizing our common humanity. So enjoy the piece.
Let's see. Hi, everybody. For those of you who need to leave, go, because it's like a microclimate in here right now, right? It's like that big heat bubble over Texas landed in this place. But for those of you who want to stay for a question and answer, there will be a question and answer session, Q&A, with Awol and all of the musicians. So for those who can stay, do. For the rest of you, have a great evening, and thanks for being here. Hi, let's get this rolling. So I'm gonna, since I had a small role in organizing this, I'm gonna exercise a privilege and ask the first question. So, what have you all gotten out of this collaboration and out of tonight? Like, what's working differently for you? What's changed?
Well, I think it's fair to say we switched things up a bit. And I have to be honest, as Western classical musicians, it's very much out of our comfort zone. So I think we had some challenges, even in the beginning, just accommodating to these really unconventional asks. I mean, you saw what we were doing with our instruments. The winds were treating it almost like percussion at some point. And then, of course, the first piece was kind of jarring enough on its own. And then, I mean, we got to play Beyonce. That I really liked. But you know, obviously we got to take a step out of our comfort zone in performance, but even the rehearsal process was quite a challenge. And I think just being daring enough to kind of step out of the black and white bounds of the score in front of us was very enjoyable for me. What about you guys?
I think so often as students, we're kind of told how to play Mozart, or we're told how to play Beethoven, or we have a conductor telling us what to do. And in pieces like this, sometimes what the composer's looking for is not even possible to be notated in words or in ink on a score. So I think it's really refreshing to us to have to tackle, like, what did they really mean when they wrote this? Like, what's the effect they're trying to get, and how can I do that most effectively? And I think sometimes, especially as students, we're sort of told that more than we get to figure that out ourselves. So that was really fun.
I'm just going to add a little bit to what you just said, and I think that's exactly what I had sort of felt upon our meeting, and then also being a student myself, that this is the kind of thing that we often want to break away from as we sort of mature and we become masters of these domains. So I think that's very spot on.
Questions from the audience? Or do you have more questions? Any comments? Please, Freya, go ahead.
I just wanted to add, I think it's really cool to have the visual element because, I mean, in that Inti piece we were playing, I kept thinking about that No Hezi. I don't know if you guys saw it, like the cosmology and the stars and all of that. I kept thinking of that particular piece of artwork when we were playing it. And I know there were a couple of rehearsals where I just did not want to rehearse that. And I'm so sorry, guys. But just thinking of how all art intertwines with each other and how everything feeds into each other, I think it's nice to remind ourselves that's why we do music and that's why we love it. So took that away from it.
So, hi, first of all, your performance was amazing, and it was first time for everybody, and it was awesome. Just really awesome. I had an interesting conversation before this event, a few days before this event, with one of the fellows at the Music Academy, and she made a comment that she was, trying out for this part. I believe she might be one of the people here today. And she said, I was pretty much set that I wasn't going to like contemporary art. And I found that fascinating because I know that your voices, you want to play contemporary music. And if audiences came to you with that sort of idea, that, oh, well, I'm just kind of set that I'm not going to like contemporary music. So in having this experience where you were really thrown into the water, you were come to the contemporary art, I'd love to know how that contemporary art hit you at first. And if there were, and kind of the trajectory of getting to the point where you then figured out the music that you wanted to play as an inspiration from it.
So when we first went into the museum and they took us around, they showed us some of Awol's art and just anyone's art out there. And we were asked to describe what we felt and just saw out of the art. So it was kind of just a practice for us to see what we can get out of the art. Sorry, I didn't remember the rest of your question.
There were like 5.
I just wonder what that experience was like in coming to contemporary art. Even some of you may have been thinking, I'm kind of set, maybe I don't even like or understand contemporary art, which is what most people, that happens. And so I'm wondering if that happened to you, and then what was the trajectory after that, where it became an inspiration?
Yeah, I'm definitely someone that doesn't know a lot about contemporary art. I do know like contemporary music, but it was definitely, at least for me, a very new experience. And I wasn't super sold at first. And then I don't know, as we analyzed more and more, it was like, oh, you can actually get a lot out of something you don't fully understand.
Isn't it interesting, the comparison in music?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
I think the perception of modern art and contemporary music is pretty similar. There's a big stigma against it. A lot of people kind of turn their nose up at it, at least in the classical music world. And I think there was definitely a bit of warming up to do to the music that we had to perform because it was so different. It was a little uncomfortable, but I think we all really grew to love the experience, and it's so different from anything we've done. A lot of classical music is very buttoned up, and this was the opposite. I mean, I don't think we've ever played a concert in jeans before, anyone on the stage, so woohoo! Yeah, it's been a great time. Go ahead.
Well, I want to talk about some of the artworks that we saw too. I mean, because when I go to a museum by myself, I usually don't have a curator there to guide me through. So that was already a big help. But we saw some things that I'm not used to. I mean, I can't remember the first names, but the Martinez self-portraiture on produce. Yeah, produce cardboard box, right? And my initial gut reaction is, what's cardboard doing in the Santa Barbara Art Museum? But then you look at this and you think, I mean, what a statement. And then we saw Sabdier's, the really bright, vivid, coloristic portrayal, and yet somewhat of an illusion with the meaning because it was really portraying some sort of parasite, right? And so to me, that had a bit of illusion to it. And then we saw one little, almost like sculpture-esque piece that you said we were supposed to figure out what it was. And it even had little images and like a verbal guide of maybe what it could be, but really the point was that it was meaningless and it's supposed to make you just kind of put your mind in circles. And then of course the very daring fusion of urbanism and the cosmos, and of course the photography, the one you had on the magazine. I mean, we thought that was quite a statement too. So just seeing these very unconventional mediums of portrayal, featuring diasporic identity in obviously a very, very homogenous town, and wondering that what do these voices have to do with, why are they not being presented in formal spaces like that? And I think that to me was really special, wondering what if we did put them in these spaces where they are supposed to be admired and thought about, and people are really supposed to speculate what it means. Could they derive additional meaning too, And so it made me think a lot about, why don't we do this more often?
Absolutely. I think in addition to what you're saying, I think that's the important part about presenting things that we don't feel. I don't know if comfortable is the word, but maybe we're not so used to, or things we have to think a little bit deeper about. And I think one of the many things that this collaboration has brought, as I hope it did for you guys, is for me in my own studio, like when I'm sort of practicing my own shed, it's all about synthesis. It's all about bringing two worlds that don't that haven't coexisted yet, right? And I think a lot of the exciting things for me happen from these places of grabbing something that I found during my travel, say in Istanbul, and then bringing it home, and then maybe I'm out somewhere else, and then I bring this other element, and it's just by bringing those things together that you find these new things. Otherwise, as you so eloquently put, it becomes a little bit too homogenous, right? And that could happen in any environment. It's not just in Santa Barbara. It could literally happen in everywhere. And I think it's, again, part of our conversation is about kind of going to the edge, going to the outer limits, and seeing how far we can go, right?
one audience question. I know Forrest, you still have your question?
Yeah, I forgot what I was going to ask now. Well, congratulations to you guys. It was an amazing performance. I would say that the thing, I guess, two observations. One, I think the thing, as a contemporary artist myself, I think the thing that stuck out to me most is that most of the time when I go to, the orchestra or to see musicians play, they all kind of start to blend together in a way. There's like 4 violinists, or 4 of each instrument or something like that. So it's like you never really know who they are. It's just like, oh, that was an incredible performance, but each of them individually, they all just kind of blend together. But I would say what stuck out to me about tonight is that each of you guys like actually had to hold your own in each of these pieces, So when I looked up at the stage, like each of you guys were an individual, because it's like if one of you guys were off your game tonight, then it's like the whole ensemble would have just sounded kind of weird and off and bad. So, congratulations to you guys for that, for sure. And then I guess also, as I was listening to the pieces, it was, I think you guys alluded to it already, but they were like so unique in that, like, I can't remember which piece it was, but there was a point where the violinist, I think it might have been you had to turn your, no, I think it might have been you actually, you had to turn your, the stick that you play with, you had to turn it to the opposite side, so you were playing with the wood side, and then it was kind of like, almost like a percussion. So I was like, this is actually kind of interesting to just imagine. So as you guys were playing, I was imagining like the person that composed it. I was like, how does he or she even get to this? Like you're just in your house one night and just like, so just like, where do you get, how do you get to that? So just congratulations to you guys. You guys nailed it tonight. I don't know. I guess there was a question that I was gonna ask at some point, but I don't know what the question was. But just man, just congratulations. You guys killed it. You guys are all individuals, and yeah. So,
Thanks,
yeah, that's it.
everybody. Thanks for coming out.
I hope so.